Welcome back to The Right Ingredients. This is the podcast where we explore the talent, leadership, and hiring challenges shaping the specialty ingredients world. In today's episode, it's focused on early stage growth, not from a distance, but from inside the business. I'm joined by Bertrand Martel, CEO of C-Real Food AB. Bertrand joined C-Real around 6 months ago and is leading the business through a critical phase of its development. Now, what makes Bertrand's perspective particularly relevant is his background. He spent much of his career in senior commercial, strategy, and P&L leadership roles within large global ingredient businesses. He's now applying that experience inside a fast-growing, earlier stage company where growth brings a very different set of demands. Today, we'll be talking about what early stage growth actually looks like in practice, how it changes the organization, how leadership priorities evolve, and how commercial, R&D, and people decisions shape the next phase of the business. Bertrand, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlie.
Now, before we begin, can you tell us just a little bit more about C-Real?
Yeah, of course. So C-Real is a Swedish company that has been established now for 6 or 7 years. For a few years, that was more a research company spending time on upscaling a patent. And this patent is related to the gentle extraction of oat. And when I say gentle extraction of oat, it means that we try to, we don't try. We obtain the different fraction from oats, so rich in proteins, in carbohydrates, or in fiber. And we do that without any industrial enzymes. The enzymatic systems comes from the oat itself, and mainly from oat malt. So we use oat malt, and water, and then a very simple separation process, a decantation. And then you have two drying stream to get two powder, one which is rich in fiber and in protein, and one which is rich in long chain dextrins and protein.
You've been with the business now coming up for almost 6 months. When you joined the company and took over, what did growth look like in those early days?
Well, the growth path was what identified, for sure. And because there has been some, I would call that early wins, in the sense that proof of concepts related to the how the product could be used in specific application were obtained. However, the speed of development of these potential projects was a bit was a bit slow. And I would say that as a startup business, it's always difficult to get the full alignment between the production upscaling and then the corresponding commercial pipeline. And I think it's normal as a startup to be in this kind of situation. And then it's what is difficult or challenging to manage is making sure that from production upscaling and quality point of view, we get at the level that the customer expects. So we have some key milestone to fulfill. At the same time, the customer, they have their own pace in order to launch new products, right? So matching the two is a bit challenging, and I guess that's quite typical in a startup business.
Beyond revenue, I mean, what indicators mattered most to you when you joined early on in the business?
Well, so as a startup, it's difficult to see revenue as the main indicator that reflects how the company progress and moves forward. So what is really important is, for me, it's clearly the opportunity pipeline. Do we generate enough opportunity? Do we have enough interaction with customer? And then I would say that's the classical indicators that you will look at when you look at the pipeline. So how many samples do you send out? How many interaction have you got with potential customers? Once you have started projects or opportunities, then how these projects are moving from one phase to another, are they evolving? in the right direction. So that's really this kind of qualitative indicator that you look at to make sure that you to get a feeling about the quality of the tracks where you are.
Understood. Okay. And what about your own definition of growth? You mentioned that's constantly evolving within a business like Serial. How has your definition of growth evolved as you've really settled into the position?
Well, the growth for us is really related to the opportunity pipeline. Do we see the volumes of this pipeline growing? Do we see what is important when you segment your project in phase? The last phase that we call in phase 4, do you see your phase 4 growing or becoming bigger and bigger? That's because then that translate the possibility to finally invoice. That's what we really that's what we are really looking at, and that's what we call growth. Yeah.
And as the business continues to scale up, what changed most noticeably inside of the organization? Because obviously you have the idea, the concept, and companies within that startup mentality very much focus on the technical side of things. Now we're shifting over to a more commercialization of a product. What has changed within the organization of Serial?
Well, you said it, the focus is changing, right? Because you move from an internal focus where you are asking, hey, is the plan running as planned? Do we have the right procedure in place? Do we have the right people to fulfill the task? Do we have the IT system working? All these things are really internal focused, right? It's all about the company itself. And then when you start growing, when you start getting out, what becomes really important is the customer and the customer expectation and all the things that needs to be fulfilled so that you build a successful commercial relationship.
And what about adjustments? Which areas of the business needed the most adjustment as growth gathered pace? I'm sure obviously building out commercial areas, that is something that is a key focus for you. But what else would you say within the business that you noticed?
Application. When I say application, I speak about technical support. If you bring a new ingredient to market as a startup, you need to show to the end user, to the customer, that you understand their metrics, you understand their application, also their marketing approach. So you have no choice but showing demo kits, final samples where they can judge the performance of your products. This has, and I expect, the expectation of the customer, I sort of, even though I do have 25 years or 30 years of background of, displaying ingredients, but when it's new, the level is, the bar is even higher. And I would say even on the logistics side, we thought that, our product could be accepted in big bags, for instance, and we need to adjust the volumes of our packaging. So yeah, that was something that we had to adjust.
A constant learning curve, I'm sure.
Indeed.
What about your role as CEO of the business? How do you foresee your role changing as the company moves and grows faster?
I don't see big change, at least yet, or in the short future. I think what is really important is to be connected with all the different departments, because with the commercial development, you see, as we discussed a bit earlier, some new tasks popping up. So related to the deliveries, the warehousing, the inventory management. So these are issues or tasks that did not exist before, that are expanding, I would say, the scope of focus and discussion. So does that change the role? Not really. It's just, addition of topics, I think, that are coming as we move forward.
And you yourself, you've worked for some big global multinationals in the past, the likes of Christian Hansen before the merger with Novozymes, Calsec, just to name a few. From your perspective, what did you have to let go of that you might have stayed closer to in a larger organization when you joined the business?
Yeah. I think one of the key skill or competencies where I built some expertise and got recognition was clearly about pipeline management and sales excellence. So really focusing on sales execution and how to make sure that as a sales organization or as an organization we are leaning towards the right goals. So really making sure that we spend the right time on the right things at the sales side. Obviously, today that's an area where I spend less time because there are many other topics that I need to take care. And I would say we volume of opportunities and project is quite different in a startup and in this starting phase compared to a multinational, well-established business.
You mentioned yourself there. There's a lot of topics that you're managing on a day-to-day basis with the current structure of the business and the plans for the future. How do you balance staying close to the detail without really slowing the organization down? Obviously, there is an end goal. There is a focus of what you're looking to do with the business, but going through all of the finer details at the moment, how do you manage all of those things without, as I said, slowing the business down?
Well, I think that this is where, having the right people around you is very important. Building your team and the department heads with whom you're going to work on a daily basis, they need to be aligned with you, with the overall strategy of the company, have a good understanding on how we are splitting the task and the responsibilities. So, I mean, this is, I think this is the heart of the challenge of building the organization. And as a CEO, not to lose yourself too.
And you've touched on this earlier, but I want to go back to it and really sort of dig into it a little bit more. Within every business of especially startup organizations, early commercial wins can often look very different from sustainable growth. From your perspective, what really needed to evolve within the business's commercial approach as the business has been developing over the last couple of years?
Well, I think what is critical, really important, is to build traction and momentum, so that's really that's the key conditions towards the success, particularly for a startup business, right? You need to see this the progress, and to do that, I mean, of course, when this business has been established, there has been some key value proposition that have been identified, and this is what you need to validate that it resonates with the customers and the targets that you have identified. In our case, we want to we really want to position one of our product as a milk powder replacer, but a milk powder replacer that it's not, there is no compromise from a taste and pleasure point of view, so that you as a user or as a consumer, you won't lose anything. So I think that has been really important that we set that as a key target, and we managed to show and get that validated by the customer. So this idea of creating momentum on a strong value proposition in which you believe is critical.
For sure. It's about building those relationships with the customers as well. In the industry that we're operating in, it's much more solution selling and getting the customer to understand the benefits, the tastes, everything that goes with it, rather than a hard sell that we would see in the commodity space, for example. What about the commercial capabilities within the business? I mean, obviously within an ingredient business, is moving from early traction to scale is super important. Go into a little bit more detail in terms of what commercial capabilities are becoming more important within the business as it moves from early traction to scale for me.
Well, and in a way, here we come back to sales excellence, right? And where you and when I mention these terms, I mean that we as the time is precious, and particularly for the customer, and then for a sales manager or an account manager, then you need to make sure that you optimize that. You optimize that for yourself so that you can generate a lot of opportunity. And then you can optimize that for your customer, because then you see a strong benefits in working with you. And I think that this is really critical when you really want to accelerate on the commercial side. Understanding the project phase of the customer, understanding the decision process, which is very key. Who are the key decision maker at the customer level? Are they in R&D? Are they in procurement? Are they in marketing? This is something that you need to get a feeling for, because otherwise you can spend your time speaking to a person that won't take a decision, right?
Yep.
And so that's the not later than today. That's exactly the type of discussion I got with my sales team. So I think that's really important, because that's how you can really properly manage your opportunity pipeline.
And moving away from the commercial element for a second, when we look at R&D within the business, obviously it's been at the forefront of the business as it builds up and scales up and really creates its product portfolio. But how will the role of R&D change within the business over the next few years?
Clearly, right? The R&D folks and the R&D team, they're clearly I would call them even the leader of the company in the early stage, because they are the ones responsible for moving the whole concept from the pilot scale to the industrial scale, right? So they are the one who knows everything about the product and the process. So it's a key role that they play. But once this is done, right, obviously what they need to follow the market needs, the customer requirements, and how we have to adjust our product portfolio to make sure that it resonates with the market needs. So there is a clear focus, right? And again, that is a good parallel with also the different phases that we described earlier. That's really, really true for R&D. That will be really focused on the first product that we launch, and then we'll need to listen to the customer in order to evolve the portfolio.
And how closely are your R&D and commercial teams linked?
So, well, today, we knew that. I would say maybe that's something learned from the past and the different experiences. But we have now, even though we are still small, right? Because we are just around 20 people. But in order to make sure that we are not losing anything between the customer feedbacks and requests and what the R&D can do, we have a position called technical engagement. And this technical engagement manager. So this person really has a strong background, both on the product itself, but also the application, and then has spent time in front of the customer. This person is not application. This person is not R&D. This person is not also an account manager, but she's responsible for connecting the dots and the different departments, so that we don't lose anything in between.
There's a good way of doing it in terms of making sure that there's somebody in the middle managing the needs, the drives of the commercial team, but more importantly, the needs and the drives of the R&D team as well. What's possible? What's scalable? What can we do here? So yeah, I think that's definitely a strong position to have within the business in its current situation. As moving on from there, I mean, as growth progresses, people decisions naturally become more important. How do you decide when the time is right to add capability versus further developing the existing team of 20 people, as you've mentioned?
Well, I think that the key things here is to have a very clear mapping of the competencies that you need, and then assess whether the existing team can address some of these missing ones, or whether it's better to get outside. And there is a timing, and then you have two parameters, the timing element, and then the workload it represents. So I think that that's how we do, right? So really identifying the competencies, and then evaluating the impact of this absence. And then that drives the decision process, with the budget, of course.
Of course, yeah. Now, Hiring is very different from, say, your previous organizations, and you've hired people for teams in the past. I'm sure that the qualities that you valued then may be different to what you value now in terms of hiring people, because it's an entirely different beast that you're operating in today. So what qualities would you say that you do value the most in hires during a growth phase like this business that you're working today?
I think people that are self-driven, that are motivated by objectives, who are quite independent. I think this is very important because everybody is stretched, right? Today, I'm not lying when I say that each employee in a startup has to do a lot of different things, right, left, and center. So it's true that we don't have the time to really take care and leave the person somewhere and no, we will if we need a resource, this resource needs to be effective quite quickly. Even I would say even an intern, right? An intern would have but we would have designed the key task for the intern, but the intern would have to be a bit independent. And then I think what is important, what is key in a small team is that we have a good communication. We don't have time to be lost in politics or whatever. So having a person who's agile and communicate honestly and openly is important.
It's about having that shared sense of success in terms of what the business is looking to do, and bringing people on that actually want to share in that success, actually deliver what they can to help the business succeed. I think that's the key type of people that really flourish in businesses like yours, like where you are at today. As the business continues to develop, what for you will define a successful next phase of growth?
Well, I think as a key next step, it's related to fulfill the manufacturing plant, right? With the plant has been designed with certain capacities for the two streams. So I think that the one of the key successful milestone will be that we make sure that this plant is filled, and then we think about opening the new one. And I think when we are there, that means that from an operational point of view and a control point of view, we have been quite successful.
Some exciting times ahead for the business, for sure. For leaders stepping into a similar stage of growth, what advice would you share based on your experience so far?
My key advice would be to stay focused and confident. And I think the confidence part is really important, because obviously every day we have things happening that are not planned or that we thought they were under control, and then the issues pops up again. So whether it's related to equipment or deliveries, and I think that we have to accept that is part of the journey in a startup, and it's not necessary to be scared, right? Or to fear that, because it was not planned. I think that all the things, and I would say that people with a commercial background, wherever they have been working, they are used to this kind of challenges that can pop up on a weekly basis. Though, you remain confident because you know that the product works, and you have now the proof that customer did enjoy working with that, and that satisfy the final consumer. And focus. I think the focus part is important too, because you have some key objectives related to few objectives related to the business growth, or some key achievement in the plant, and you need to have that in mind all the time, and not be diluted by or lost by some of daily issues that could pop up.
And what about we spoke about leaders stepping into a business such as C-Real. What about new employees across R&D, across commercial? What advice would you give? Let's say you were interviewing somebody today to join C-Real in R&D or commercial. What advice would you give them about your business today in terms of how to be successful?
Well, then I think that the main advice would be to not hesitate to share suggestions, right? because again, that's an opportunity and a chance to be in a startup, is that a lot of things need to be built, need to be created. It's true that we have a bit of, all of us have some prejudice or ideas in mind on how things could work. As we are still this new team made of different backgrounds, and then we have a lot of forums and meetings where we have the opportunity to bring these ideas or suggestions on the table. So being creative and not fearing sharing suggestions, that would be my best advice, because we still can learn from each other.
I think that would ring true to a lot of people in different organizations where maybe that isn't the case. So I think that is a really good position for you to put forward in that advice. Yeah,
I think that's one of the attractive aspect of a small or startup business, is that you still have this freedom and this opportunity to contribute at the shape of the company. And it's much more difficult when you are in a company of 2,000 or even 20,000 employees, right? So the contribution is less visible, and it's more difficult to get it to the wall.
For sure. Well, Bertrand, I think this has been a really interesting look at what early stage growth actually demands inside an ingredients business, beyond the headlines and beyond the theory. So you've been with the business 6 months now. I wish you all the best moving forward, and I'm really excited to see how Cereal continues to grow.
Thank you, Charlie.
Not at all. So for anyone listening who's leading, joining or supporting a growing ingredients company, I think there are some real takeaways here around pacing growth, building capability, and making the right decisions at the right time. So thank you for listening to The Right Ingredients. If you have found this episode useful, please feel free to share it. And we'll be back soon with another conversation on topics around the specialty ingredients industry. Thank you for listening once again. Bertrand, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.